What's good, everybody? Is when I come back at y'all with a video. So for this video, I want to share with you guys a true story that happened. This happened many years ago now. Um, and this, once again, I'm gonna highlight this is a true story because I know the people that are gonna say that this didn't happen or making this up. I promise you this happened. I promise you on everything. This in fact did happen. So watching this video as I share with you this true story, watching this video will restore your trust in the universe. Now, whether it's universe, God, electromagnetic field, whatever label you want to call it, or source, right? I'm referring to that. In this case, I'll use the word universe, right? It will restore your trust, your faith, your belief in the universe that things are working itself out and that things are happening and operating behind the scenes for very specific reasons. And when events happen, you may not know why or what it means in that given moment, but sometimes all it takes is some time for it to reveal the truth as far as why these events happen, right? Because nothing in life ever happens by accident or coincidence. Nothing in life ever happens to you. It happens for you, for your betterment and for your greater good, etc., etc. So this story is about, I guess, love. And so if you're someone out there that's single as a Pringle and you are hoping that one day you will find your true love and your soulmate, I'm here to tell you that you will. I'm here to tell you that your soulmate is walking this earth as we speak. And so there's no reason for you to be impatient or worried or concerned, right? Everything is fine. Everything is flowing as it should. And events are lining up for you to eventually meet this person if you haven't already met this person already. So don't be concerned, right? And I want to share the story with you because this story that I'm going to share, you can tie it back to all other areas of your life. This is just about this story. This true story is a love story that happened. However, you can still use this as sort of like an anecdote for trusting everything else in your life. So long story short, this goes back, if I rewind several years back in my life, to back when I was in college. When I got admitted to the college that I attended Ford University, I needed to complete a summer program in order to fully be admitted as a student because one, I went to public school, and two, I was also on financial aid. And so the summer program was pretty much required for students that were on the financial aid programs that I was a part of. And it was also to make sure that the student was in fact capable, and it will help to prepare the student for the academic rigor of the school year itself, because many students who have gone to public schools probably did not face as academically rigorous of a course or workload that they would eventually experience going to that school. So I went through some program. Basically, it was from the end of June all the way to the beginning of, it was pretty much the end of June going into at least like early to mid August. So it was probably anywhere from like 6 to 8 week program, right? I finished that program as a student, and then I finished my entire freshman year of college. So towards the end of freshman year of college, as summer was approaching, I wanted to get a summer job. So of course, the summer job to get experience and also to get paid, right? So when the summer rolled around, I remembered about the summer program, and I know that the summer program hires current students to serve as staff members for the summer program. So the incoming freshmen, right, when they go through some program, some of the staff members there, or the majority of staff members there, are current students who at least finish their first or second year of school so that they can serve as mentors for the incoming batch of students to help them be on the right track to succeed at the university. So when summer rolled along, I applied for that summer program. I went through the rounds of interviews, and they selected me to be for the job. And so I was super ecstatic for it. And so I remember the next summer that summer rolled along, and I was working as a staff member. So you have many of the current students working as staff members, anywhere from rising sophomores to rising seniors. And it was probably around like 20 of us as staff members, and we had two supervisors. Now this is an important detail. We had two supervisors. These supervisors were graduate students that came from other universities across the United States. So it can be from any university, any graduate student, right? So because we were current students at the university, many of us were between the ages of 18 to maybe 21, 22, pretty much 18 to 21 years old, right? Us as staff members. Our two supervisors, one was always male and one was always female. They were graduate students, so they were typically older adults between the ages, mid to late 20s. And they were graduate students from other colleges in the United States, right? I remember throughout the summer program, we're working with the students, the days and the weeks are going by, everything's fine. Now, I remember that at one point, one of our supervisors got sick, and it wasn't just a regular cold. He must have come down with the flu. He came down with something nasty. And normally when something like that happens, people will label that event as a bad thing. This is such a bad event. This is such a bad thing that happened to you. You came down with a very bad illness. You came down with a strong sickness. Therefore, this is a bad event. The male, right, the male supervisor went down with the sickness. Now, because he was so sick and he pretty much couldn't even get out of bed, he was that bad, he couldn't get out of bed. He was canceling all of his meetings with us, the standard staff members, me and my colleagues. Couldn't do anything. So the female supervisor, she felt bad. She was one of the nicest people I ever met in my lifetime. She was super dope, an amazing person. She was definitely a giver. She definitely cared about everyone that she worked with. And so because he went down with the sickness, she basically took care of him. She was the one that was going out and running errands for him, getting anything that he needed, whether it's medicine, food, etc. She was the one that was basically by his side. He couldn't get out of bed, so she obviously had to go to his room and spend time with him. And of course, ideally, no one wants to be sick. No one wants to be tied to the bed. So if she basically wasn't visiting him, because he didn't want other people visiting, because he didn't want to spread the sickness to anyone, right? But because she was already assisting him, he was only comfortable with allowing her in his room, because we're staff members, we're living in the dorms, right? We're living in the college dorm. So he basically had his own room in his dorm. And so she was basically always visiting him. Now, normally, because we were all technically employed by the university, right? The lines were a little bit blurred because you literally live where you work, right? You're living in the dorms, you're working, helping the students, all that stuff. So you basically live there. So of course, everyone still tried to keep things professional because at the end of the day, it's your job. But we also are human beings. We also, no one ever wants to work 24/7, right? You, of course, want to be yourself. And there was definitely room for people to be themselves. So she, of course, was in the dorm taking care of him. And because they spent so much time together, because he was sick and basically tied to his bed, they were able to have a lot of dialogue. They were able to have conversations and, just as friends, because had he not gotten sick, of course, they were always just going to keep things professional, right? So they got to know each other on a more personal level. They got to share lives, share conversations, have deep dialogue, etc., etc. And it turns out that they eventually realized that they had, in fact, grown or developed feelings for one another. And so by the end of the program, that's when we realized that both of the supervisors kind of had a thing for each other. And long story short, fast forward to more present day, or fast forward several years after that and more present day, they eventually got engaged and got married. So what I need you guys to understand about this story is that you need to have trust in the universe, right? Oftentimes we think that we need to be the ones to figure out how things are going to happen in our lives. But when we try to be the ones to piece things together and try to figure things out ourselves, that is when we essentially strip away life itself, because a lot of life is events happening that you can't anticipate happening, right? And these two literally were a match made in heaven, I guess soulmates. And I truly believe that him getting sick is what led to this happening. Because I personally believe, had he not gotten sick, they probably would have liked each other, right? Had feelings for each other maybe, but they probably would have kept things professional the entire time. So then it probably would have been after the summer program, they probably would have just parted ways, right? That they probably would have just maybe stayed in touch or whatever it is, but they probably would have just gone their separate ways after that, because at the end of the day, everyone is, hired by the university. However, I think because he went down with his sickness, his counterpart was able to be here and spend hours nonstop being with him, taking care of him, and that's what allowed them to have all this conversation and to really, really get to know each other and realize that they've had feelings for one another, and that is how they ended up being engaged, getting engaged, and married. So I remember having conversations with my friends, and they would ask me, well, how do you ever expect to find your partner or who you're expected to be with? And I would tell them, I don't know. And they would have the look on their face as if, like, if I say that I don't know, then how would it ever happen? Right? But it's because if I knew how it was going to happen, then I would already be with this person, right? Because I already know how it's going to happen. It would already have happened. But because it didn't happen, then I don't know. And I may not ever know until it happens, right? No one, not even the smartest mathematician, could have ever anticipated or predicted, and neither could the two supervisors ever anticipated or predicted that they would be each other's soulmates, accepting a summer job opportunity. Because remember, guys, these were two candidates that were chosen, likely out of a pool of dozens of applicants. And each of their resumes were good enough to stand out by the university, and then they did well enough in their interviews to pass and get chosen and get hired by the universities. And as a supervisor, there's only one male, one female. There's no other options, right? Like, for people that are at that position, right? Like, is only two, is only one and one. So no one, and I promise you, them either, neither of them could have ever anticipated that this would have been the outcome of their summer jobs, of them being chosen by the school and end up realizing that they had feelings for one another and eventually got engaged and get married, right? And it's been many years since then, so maybe they started a family. I don't know. I'm not really on social media, but you guys get the idea. This is what I mean. I'm hoping that you understand that the universe is working events and organizing things behind the scenes, even if your senses can't pick it up, right? Even if you have no idea, that there are still events that are happening behind the scenes that can still lead you towards what it is that you're asking for, right? So neither of them could have nobody would have ever predicted or anticipated that these two would be together. And most people would have labeled being sick as a bad event, but him getting sick probably could have been the best thing to happen to him, because that is what allowed him to really spend quality time and alone time with his colleague, who ends up being his soulmate and his lover, and ends up being his fiance and his wife in the future, right? Like, this is what I mean. I know it sounds like I'm making stuff up, but I promise you this is a true story. I was there. I've seen it. I witnessed it with my own eyes, right? Like, the universe is working things out behind the scenes. Sometimes you guys just need to have trust. You need to have faith. You need to have belief that everything is working itself out. Even if right now things seem so far from where it is, right? Even if right now you're single as a Pringle and you're thinking to yourself, how can I ever find a partner, right? Because most young adults, probably in their 20s, right, think that they're going to find their match either through going to the club, right? Because we're single people go to the club, or going to a bar, because we're single people go to bars, or that they might meet their match through a dating app, right? Like, if you're not using Tinder or Hinge or any of the dating apps right now, then that means you're not serious about finding a relationship, and you're not serious that you're not going to find anybody, right? I trust that the universe is organizing these events behind the scenes without any sort of, my senses can't pick it up, right? I have no idea that's happening, but I trust that things are falling into place behind the scenes. The same way I've seen with my own two eyes with my supervisors who ended up walking away as a couple, got engaged and got married. That is their love story that I was able to see with my own two eyes. Right? Because think about it. Any one of those variables could have went left. It could have been very possible that either, like, think about it. What are the chances that the two supervisors that got hired by the school, what are the chances that they both came across that same summer program job posting, right? What are the chances that that happened? And then what are the chances that they were selected out of the applicants, right? It could have been dozens of applicants, could have been hundreds of applicants, could have been thousands of applicants. Who knows? What are the chances that them two were selected? And then what are the chances that both of those people did well on the interviews to be the one male and the one female to get chosen, right? Probabilities slim to none. And then on top of that, the probability of them liking each other as, having a great relationship, a great friendship, and then the male supervisor going down with the sickness. So then they pretty much spending quality time and getting to each other, right? Like, all of these events are so improbable that they're virtually impossible to happen, and yet it happened. And stories like this happen all the time. Like, you hear about stories like this happening all the time. So why can't this happen to you, right? Because many people will label this as a miracle. So if a miracle could happen for someone's love life, a miracle can happen for your love life. Or if a miracle can happen for someone else's love life, a miracle can happen for your financial life, or for your financial status, or for your own personal health. Miracles are happening all the time, guys. So this is why I'm hoping that you reaching this far into the video, making it to the end, I'm hoping that this video restored your trust in the universe. Now, if you made it this far, please comment down below the word trust to let me know that you've actually made it to the end of the video, because that means the world to me that you sat here and listened to my whole spiel, right? My little rant about this all. But I'm hoping this video provide you with value, right? That you understand that the universe, it knows what you want, right? And it's working behind the scenes to make it happen. And this was just one of the many stories that I've seen with my own two eyes that of course, I wasn't in a relationship, but like, I've experienced this because I've seen it and I know them and everything. This is just one of the many experiences that happen all the time. So this is why I trust in the universe, and I trust that everything's working itself out, everything's fine. And this is why you watching this video should trust it for all areas of your life as well. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe, as we are on the road to 1 million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.